question.
There is a photo that Massimo on Twitter posted and then you reposted.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a common photo in psychological circles. It's 5 pictures of silhouettes of heads, and it's about visualization of an apple.
Mm-hmm.
The first head just can't do it. Some people can't visualize. The next head is able to get like a faint outline of the apple with a dull gray, and then it progresses, and the last one can visualize like a perfect, juicy red apple with all the detail you see in real life. My first question is, can people actually visualize with the clarity of that last juicy red apple with all the details of real life?
Much more than that. I mean, if you make an effort out of it, the way some of the tantra, the tantrists in the Mahayana do, they visualize Tara down to the fingernails, down to her hair, down to her everything. They visualize the whole thing, or Avalokiteshvara, the Buddha of compassion. So they use these visualizations, just like they use those mandalas in sand. You can see them, and then they wipe them away. So they create virtual realities essentially. And then they get rid of the virtual realities, and then they go, now what, right? And then they're developing some capacities, they're learning some things, and so the answer is absolutely yes, of course, and more. But it takes time and effort.
But do they actually see it? Because like
they don't need their eyes to see it. Did Beethoven hear the Ninth Symphony? Did he ever hear the Ninth Symphony?
I would, yeah.
You know he was deaf, right?
Yeah.
So how did he hear it?
So I've been a guitar player for quite some time, and you can develop your inner ear to where you, like when you first start out,
you can hear the notes.
Yeah, like you literally.
But is that hearing or is that imagination?
It's not the same as
visual.
No, I'm saying it's not the same as like hearing an instrument play, I guess. But like,
people can hear an instrument play. People can hear the ninth and not hear the ninth. They can walk right past it. Yeah. People can hear the ninth when they're stone cold deaf if they're properly trained or inclined, right?
Agreed.
So that's why I say we need a new mind science, a little bit broader, right? Because these categories are kind of silly. On the surface. And plus these questions have been asked and answered, 1,500 years we've worked on this and written the results and stuff. So, we need to be a little bit more inclusive of our scientific literature. And so, and again, with visualization, again, the tantric Mahayanists, of Nepal and Tibet and the Bon. I don't know how much the Bon did, but this is not a new question. And from what I've learned and seen, observed, and experienced and read, I'd say that it's quite possible. It's work.
And
let's say you go to sleep and let's say you go to work, you're a research subject. And you go to William James Hall, and you're going to, they pay you a weekly salary, and you have to sit there all day, and they want to know whether or not you could visualize an apple in your head, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they ask you questions, they show you pictures, this and that. Can you visualize? Da, da, da. And you've been doing this now for 3 months, all summer, trying to make some extra money. And so you go home, and you're just exhausted from this stuff. So you go to sleep, and you dream of a beautiful apple. Now what? Is that not the same? Is it different? How's it the same? How's it different? Why would we want to differentiate? Does it make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Do we have different dream imagination from waking imagination? Does Beethoven have a different imagination of the Ninth Symphony? Yeah, probably. Thank God. He can hear the thing, right? Deaf, he can hear it better than most of us can hear it with our ears.
Yeah.
So it's just a poorly formulated question, and that's why we need to branch out. And I think we're going to. We have to. Follow up or question?
No. Different question. I have a question about meditating in crowds or in, I guess, hectic situations.
Mm-hmm.
I have a passage from the introduction of the Taoist I Ching that you might have quoted before. This is from Huang Yuanqi of the Yuan dynasty. People are happy when there is quiet and vexed when there is commotion. Don't they realize that since their energy has already been stirred by the clamor of people's voices and the involvements and disturbances of people and affairs, rather than use this power to be annoyed at the commotion, it's better to use this power to cultivate stability? An ancient said, when people are in the midst of the disturbance, this is a good time to apply effort to keep independent. Stay comprehensively alert in the immediate present, and suddenly an awakening will open up an experience in the midst of it all that is millions of times better than that of quiet sitting.
Yeah. But it is quiet sitting, except you're not sitting. And it's not quiet. So, I mean, but it's the same thing. So remember I told you about that ice cream truck?
Yeah, yeah.
Or now, if I hear a crow, a corvid, or a blue jay or something like that, another corvid. It's just like, you can't ask for anything more than that. It's just like beautiful. Because you have this advanced space, right? So you have vast space with nothing in it. But there has to be objects of some sort, right? Because the consciousness or the brain needs that or whatever. I'm talking about lower levels, not lower levels, but intermediate levels or meditation, but nothing that grand or anything like that. And so what the brain does is create a noise or a problem or a thought to keep it from that feeling, oh my God, I'm going to get destroyed because there's nothing for me to do here, right? And so then you start obsessing about, well, should I eat the green jelly bean or should I eat the red jelly bean, right? Or, somebody's thermostat went off two houses down and bothers me, right? The brain will put that stuff in there. But then, okay, so there's a very, very... a good meditation. Let me see if I can not butcher it. One takes a few deep breaths to get the stale air out of the lungs. And then one relaxes completely. And then once you're relaxed completely, you relax some more. Right? So you're relaxed. And then you drop your past history. You forget that you have a birthday. You forget that you have a name. You forget that you have a family. You forget that you went to school. You forget that you have a job. You forget that you have obligations. You forget all of that. So there's no past. And then you get rid of the future. You just through gentle, intent, you wipe out the future. There's no plans, there's nowhere to go, there's no death at the end, there's no old age or sickness, there's no riches or reward, there's no recognition or lack thereof, there's nothing and nobody. And so now you're free of the past and the future. And then all you have is the present. And in the present, you just look for what's there, but it has to be in the present. And so I hear the hum of an airplane. And I feel a sensation where my elbow's pressing against the desk. And maybe I can feel a little breath stirring in my lungs. And that's all there is. The rest is just sky-like nature of mind, the Dharmakaya. This vast, immeasurable, unthinkably vast spaciousness. in which all of these other things, the mind thoughts, the memories, the identities, the plans for the future, all of these things are just objects in there. And it doesn't matter whether a thought flies by or whether a bird flies by. It's the same thing. And then gradually, as this starts to mature, you realize that the birds are your thoughts. And your thoughts are like birds. They just are objects floating in this vast space. And so you don't go to war with them. You just say, oh, there they are, right? And then after a while, you get familiar with it. It's the nature of our mammalian brains, I suppose. We get familiar with it. And then depending on our attitude, we start to like it or miss it. Or, you know, the Sufi story where or the experiment where they take, 50, 100 people, put them in an auditorium, and then pipe in the sound of a man snoring. And then ask, everybody, well, what do they think of this sound? And they go, it's horrible. Oh, turn it off. What the hell are you doing to us? You don't have our permission to abuse us like this. And then they move that group out. And they bring in another group, and they play the same sound again, except they say, oh, that's a kitten purring. And they go, oh, how cute. Play some more. Oh, that's so beautiful. And you realize your mind's like that, right? Your mind's exactly like that. That's very much how your mind is. And so you stop judging the objects that occur in the sky-like mind, dharmakaya, or the spaciousness of reality. And so then you stop having preferences, because whatever it is, it's going to be interesting. Now, usually you go to a really noisy place like a supermarket or a better department store so you don't get hungry. Department store, and you can even do the exact same exercise, and you're not particularly attending to the conversations or anything like that. You're just sitting there, and all of this noise is just occurring in space. It's fun to do it. After a while, once you get expert at it or medium expert at it, it's cool, because then you're not struggling. Oh my God, I had a thought. Oh my God, is my breathing right? Oh my God, am I sitting right? Oh my God, am I in a half lotus or a full lotus? All of that crap doesn't matter, right? What matters is that now you're the master of your mind. And the objects that come and go, well, that's later perhaps. But you just let them come and you let them go. And that's the other thing. No matter what it is, it will pass. Especially in meditation. It could be the worst itch of your life. Oh my God, I got to scratch it. If I don't scratch it, I'm going to die. Oh God, I got to. Oh no. How can I? It's only been 5 minutes and I've got this horrible thing. Or you could just focus on it and what is in the present, not your ideas about what it is, but what it actually is. And then under the light of your attention, more often than not, the thing just goes away, and then you go on to the next problem. Should I buy a Twix or should I buy a Milky Way when I get out of here? Right? It's just the mind going through the silly stuff again. And then finally it just gives up and says, hey, I'm going home, you're no fun. Something like that.
So then can you explain I guess the answer to this is already partially in what you've said, but to flesh it out a bit more, how that suddenly an awakening will open up an experience in the midst of it all that is millions of times better than that of quiet sitting. Yeah.
Then you realize, hey, the world is my puja. Yeah, that's exactly, a million times better.
What's a puja?
Oh, those are, I shouldn't speak of it because I don't know, but basically they're little shrines, I think, that they put up in India, and some Buddhists do, where you have a Buddha there, and then you have the little candles, and then you have your mala, and you have your incense, and you have your little prayer mat, and you have your little food offerings and water things, and it's just like a ritual. And many people find it helpful, and I encourage them because I found it helpful at one point, but I had a very crude one. This is where the creativity comes in. You have to make your own puja. Now, maybe it's in a closet, right? And you close the door if you don't have your own room. Or maybe it's, in the attic, or who knows? Maybe it's in your car. But the point is that you have a little space, in the beginning, right? A space of your own. Mm-hmm. And where you could use all of the conditioning aspects, right? I was bemoaning to someone recently the loss of the Mass in Latin. With all of them, there's hundreds of rituals all contained within that one thing or process. The incense, the chanting, the bells, the water, the oil, the wafer, the wine, the incantations, the answer and response, all the weird robes that everybody's wearing, you know, and sometimes funny hats and all, and stained glass windows and sculptures for the kids to look for. Everybody to look. You know, it's really quite brilliant.
Yeah.
And over time, it's our nature to become conditioned to those things and to like them. We like what we know. And so all conditioning is not necessarily bad. If you're creative, you can use it creatively to use it for something that it's good for, right? To habituate you to your little puja where you sit and meditate, right? And then you start to look forward to having this place to go to every day where you open up your scripture, you know, your flower ornament scripture, or and then you light your candles or your incense or whatever, you ring your bell, and then you meditate for a certain period of time, and you hear the same ice cream truck go by. It's lovely, you know. So you gotta. So yeah, I don't know how we got on that, but that's what I have to say about that at the moment. We're gonna have to stop soon. Is there any other questions that might be? Any other questions?
I have other questions, but not on this specifically.
All right.